We're live.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Sports Ethos Fantasy NFL Today Show. I am your host, Jacob Dunn, and you can find me on X at Ain't Done Yet, and Dunn is spelled Dunne. As you can see, I am not alone. I am riding with my co-host, John Mosales and Anthony Quaranta. So let's start with John. How are you doing today, my man?
Good. Co-host. Yeah, or maybe assistant to the host.
To the Dwight Schrute. Love that.
I'm doing great. Week 2, Sunday. Let's go. I kind of lost most of my week 1 matchups, but I won my big one, so that's all that matters. But yeah,
That's
ready,
right.
ready to let's get nuts.
Love it, man. The big money league is all that matters, for real. All right, and Anthony, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm just happy to be here, as always. I went 5-5 in my managed leagues last week, so I've got a league that I care a lot about where I started off with James Cook on Thursday night, so I'm happy about that. Looking
There we
forward
go.
to padding that lead hopefully here as the games come up.
A player that you didn't expect to go off that goes off is a great way to start the weekend. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, I certainly agree.
Who didn't expect him to go off?
Hey, I expected him to go off. I had him higher than most experts. I'm saying he was my RB14, so I should have had him a little higher, but he was everyone's like low end RB2 going into this game. So
Okay. I know.
hey,
Brian in his model had it. He had Cook to score a touchdown, so that was
okay,
great.
there we go,
Yeah,
Brian.
yeah.
Brian Shea.
Model's doing good. So I don't know if you guys been up on Twitter so far, right? We got CMC, right? He's IR, maybe 6 weeks. Like it's just, I'm getting lots of CMC questions. So I say let's just kick it off with that. Like I got him in my big money league. I thought he fell to me at 3. He did not fall to me. It was a trap. And I'm kind of screwed. But let's say you got him. I know Brian's got him in our SportsEthos league. Let's say you're trying to trade him. You just want off the ship. What are you looking at? 40 cents, 50 cents on the dollar,
Oh man, for me, I'm kind of desperate at running back because I relied on CMC to be my anchor in my big money league. So I actually traded, man, my 5th or 6th round, I think my 6th round pick in Malik Neighbors because I was wide receiver rich for Jordan Mason. Like I had to get him. Now, as for CMC, I don't know. Like I'm kind of desperate, so I would be willing to trade for like a solid RB2. But I just don't think you can get much in return for him right now, unless because my league does not have an IR slot. So I don't think anyone's going to take him from me. But if someone does have an IR slot, I would definitely try to get him for pennies on the dollar, but not really sacrifice like a solid RB2 for CMC services because Achilles injuries are nothing to mess with.
Yep. Yeah. Anthony, what are your thoughts?
I think that if you have CMC on your roster, I think that you take 65 cents on the dollar. He's going to be out at least the next 4 weeks, right? It could be longer. Achilles are touchy. He's older. I think he's 28 years old.
Yes.
And on the other side of that, I don't know that I would even trade for him just because of that, the nature of the injury. His age, when he comes back, he still might not be 100%. If Jordan Mason shows that he can handle the workload like he did in week 1, there's no reason to give Christian McCaffrey the workload that we all expected coming into the season. So I almost feel like if you have him, you just kind of got to hold him unless somebody is high somewhere. But it's certainly not me at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we've all learned our lesson, all of us CMC managers, to handcuff our running backs. I know there's like a split opinion on that, but it's the truth, especially for rock stars like CMC. You have to have insurance policy. And I didn't because I didn't think I needed it, or I didn't think that Jordan Mason was that good. But we saw last week in week 1 that he was that good. That's why I was willing to trade Malik Neighbors straight up for him. But you have to handcuff your running back. So if you are a CMC owner who got Jordan Mason, go grab Isaiah Guerendo. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Just cover your bases and don't be left without a running back.
I thought you were going to say with your pants down or something.
I was thinking about it. I didn't want to be too crass, but yes.
What about
Exactly.
this? Would you guys, let's say you got CMC, would you just trade him for Jordan Mason?
I
Ooh,
would. Oh, well,
ooh,
oh man, that's tough. That's tough because
straight
CMC
up.
does have a chance to return. So, what do you think, Anthony?
Ooh. I don't know that I don't know that I do that either way. Like if I have Jordan Mason, I don't think I'm trading him for Christian McCaffrey.
Mm.
If I have Christian McCaffrey, I don't know. I don't know from that side, but from the Jordan Mason side, I certainly wouldn't make that exchange.
You
Yeah.
got to believe, like, even what you said, Anthony, that even if CMC comes back, he's not going to come back to a full workload. So Mason could even have flex appeal. So if you were to trade CMC for Mason, it won't be, like you won't lose that trade. I think that he will hold low end flex appeal at the least, even if CMC comes back. There's no way that CMC is going to get 30 touches a game like he was last year
No.
coming off of this Achilles. So I think I would be hard pressed. I would try my best to trade Jordan Mason in any other way. But I think when push comes to shove, I would do that trade just out of safety.
Isn't that crazy? Fantasy football is so nuts. The
Yes.
first overall pick, definitive, trading for a guy that essentially wasn't drafted in most leagues.
I know. It hurts.
But
That's
I also
fantasy,
think
dude.
the key is also not to overreact, right? People always say don't overreact to over week one. I think the key is it's don't overcorrect to week one, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, I think even last year, there's tons of guys that finished in the top 10 position that were outside. Like CD Lamb had a bad game.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what the list was I saw, but there's lots of guys, right? And even Jordan Mason, sure, he looked great in week one. We don't know if he can handle that workload. He might get hurt today, right?
Right.
So it's tough. It's a coin flip. It's a wasteland out there. Let's just keep moving on the injuries. I don't think we've ever had a start to a season like this, right? Puka Nacua out probably 5 to 7 weeks now.
5 to 7 weeks.
They're going to be extra cautious too. I was watching Sports Center or what have you this morning, and on the ticker I noticed it said that they're going to be extra cautious. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's closer to that 7-week timeline. Just based off of that, they want to make sure that there are no setbacks. If they feel like they can compete without him, Cooper Kupp will certainly help keep them in games. They might really be cautious with him until the end of the season.
Yeah, I think it definitely depends on if the Rams are going to be competitive. I think they might rush him back because Stafford doesn't have that much time left. He's 36, but we all know his injury history with his back and stuff like that. He's not the most Iron Man of players. So, like the Rams only have probably 2 years left of not really prime Stafford, but like still a really good Stafford. So they'll probably, like, if Puka says that he's good to go, then they'll probably just throw him in there. If they're losing, if they're winning, yeah, why not just keep him on ice and just have him completely heal up? So if you're a fantasy manager, you're rooting for the Rams to win. Or if you are a Puka Nacua fantasy manager, you're rooting for the Rams to win.
Yeah, definitely. So a couple
Or to lose, I mean. Because if you lose, they need him back. Sorry.
Yeah, but if they lose too much, then their season's it's
That's
it
fair.
can pivot.
That's fair.
But so I was just cleaning up the wire today. So we got these are the tough start sit questions, in my opinion. So we got the night game. We got the we got the Bears Texans, right? But we got Dunze and Allen both maybe to play limited snaps. But what do you do, right? You got all these 1:00 games. You got the 4 p.m. games. You can't really sit and wait on Allen and a Dunze, and then maybe they don't play, and then you don't really have any other options, right? So, Jake, what are you doing? Do you have a Dunze or Allen in the league?
I don't, because I didn't trust any of the Bears wideouts to draft them. So I don't mind going with alternative options, because even if they are playing, it's like you can't really trust them as more than anything more than a wide receiver 3 with upside, especially what Caleb Williams didn't show us enough confidence to roll the dice on like a decision like this. Like, oh, I can't sit Allen, I can't sit Odunze. I think we can afford to sit them until Caleb Williams gets his feet under him. The only Bears wideout that I trust right now is DJ Moore. Anyone else I am completely off of for the moment. So I wouldn't mind pivoting to any one of your bench options.
Okay, Anthony, we got another one. So AJ Brown now hamstring, heard it Friday. He is quite like the bad side of questionable. right? AJ's first round pick. What are you doing? If you got AJ Brown, are you praying?
I have him in a dynasty league.
Okay.
So I'm actually, when I saw it like 15, 20 minutes before we kind of hopped on here, and I was going through, and it's in a dynasty league. I was going through my bench options, and it's not great. And everybody plays. The tough part is especially because he plays on Monday night.
Exactly.
Right.
The way I'm handling it, I think personally, is AJ Brown's a stud. If he starts, you have to play him. I'm gonna wait. I've cleared an IR spot. Again, it's a dynasty league, so I had AJ Dillon on IR, but he's out for the year, so I dropped him to clear an IR spot, just in case we get the notification 90 minutes before game time Monday night. AJ Brown's not playing. At least I can pick somebody up off the waiver wire that plays in that night game just to have a chance. But I think I'm waiting for AJ Brown.
Who are you thinking, Jahan Dotson?
Yeah, I think that's the key, right? If you have AJ Brown, you have to go pick up Dotson right now.
Right.
And then at least you have your bases covered.
I'm thinking, Dotson would be good. You could also maybe get Ray McLeod, who plays on the other side of it.
Right.
Just thinking about it. My dynasty, I don't have anyone that I'm willing to drop, so I'm just gonna pick somebody up Monday night if he doesn't play. But I think he's the type of player that's worth waiting to see if he's gonna play or not.
That's a good, Ray McLeod. Yeah, okay, yeah. That's you drafted AJ Brown, and this is fantasy football, so embrace the chaos.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Anthony, you did the preview for us, right? So I guess right? I guess we could do a quick recap of the Thursday game, right? We got Tua now. Tua's toast. Like, it's just crazy.
Did you guys see quickly? Apparently, he's not planning on retiring.
Yeah,
I saw that come through this morning.
Yeah, I saw that, and I think it's his decision. I think Coach Mike McDaniel said that it's his decision. He's not going to make it for him. It's Tua's life. It's what he wants to do. Even though we might think that's a mistake, but selfishly, as a Tyreek Hill owner, I would love for him to come back because I'm not sure about Skylar Thompson. So, but as the man, if I was Tua's friend and he still has all that money, it's like, dude, don't ruin the rest of your life just for this game after you did make your money. But it's Tua's life, so that's all I can say.
What about Skylar Thompson, super flex? Is he an option? I don't think he's any good, but
no, I don't think right now.
He has a pulse, and if you're desperate for a super flex QB2, go for it, because, but he's already 28, like we know what he is, who he is. I think that the Dolphins will see what they have in a game or two, and then they'll try to trade for Flacco or sign a veteran off of his couch. But yeah, if you're desperate, go for it. But we don't have much hope here.
Okay. Oh man. Okay, let's move on to we got the Sunday games. We got the 1:00. So I think everyone's big game, Tampa, Detroit, right? I think it's got the highest over under, right? 51.5.
I love that game. I want any piece of that game within reason, of course, that I can get. And that includes Jalen McMillan. If you're in a deeper league or a league where you start two flexes, and you're scrambling for a last option, I'm throwing Jalen McMillan in there. Bucky Irving. I love this game. I think it's going to hit the over.
Okay.
Yes. Bucky showed serious juice. He showed more juice than Rachaad White. So I'm definitely stashing him anywhere I can if he's available, because he looked good and Rachaad looked inefficient at best. But the Lions they have a tough front line. So we'll definitely see what these two backs on the Bucs are made of today.
Yeah, I wouldn't be stuck at starting Bucky today, especially game script. I think Lions are, the Bucs secondary's beat up. Antoine Winfield, I don't know if he's playing, but he's hurt. They lost Carlton Davis already. They're not, I think Lions are going to throw up and down. Mon-Ra game, Sun God. Bucky's a great stash, but I wouldn't be playing him this week.
Same.
Okay, we got next game. Oh, okay. This is everyone's favorite sucker game, right? We got the Colts in Green Bay. I think it was 3.5. It's moved down to 2.5. Every Joe Schmo in the world is betting against Malik Willis, right? Anthony, you did the preview. Is that smart?
Yeah. At the time that I wrote it, it was Colts -3, and that was actually my quick pick. I just don't. I mean, he could surprise. It's the NFL. Everybody is talented enough to be there, right? But I just don't. I just don't see it. The only, if we're talking about start sits, the only player that I'm outside of Josh Jacobs, the only player I'm willing to consider starting is Jaden Reed. It looks like he's going to play.
Yeah.
But even then, I'm really nervous if I have to. I'm staying away from the Packers if I can, outside of Josh Jacobs, who is just going to get so much volume, I think, today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And even Emmanuel Wilson could get probably like 10 carries himself. And he was very, very efficient last week against the Eagles. So he's probably like a deep league sleeper play as well. But Josh Jacobs definitely going to get that volume.
I like that. I should have put him. I didn't even think about that. That's a great call. If you're efficient for a start in a deep league.
Yeah, I mean, I worry about Marshawn Lloyd coming back because John and I were huge fans. Like, I'm sure you are too, but like he has all this upside. But he was injured last week. He might come back this week. There isn't official word, so that's kind of dicey. So that might be like a last minute decision because if Lloyd is active and Wilson, then you probably don't want to touch either. But
right,
yeah. But that game just smells like a trap game.
It does.
Right? I think LaFleur's great as an underdog. Right? Packers are good at home. Anthony Richardson, sure, he looked awesome, Superman at some point, but he only had 9 completions, right? Like,
it was a mixed bag for Richardson.
Yeah, right?
He had that amazing play that got all the attention from social media, which was amazing, but he didn't look great. He just looked big and dominant and had amazing plays. But yeah, this is going to be a weird game. I think you're right. This is a trap game. I would stay far away from it.
Colts D can't stop anyone. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Go.
What?
I said Colts D can't stop anyone, right?
Right. But it's Malik Willis, so I think they have a good chance at stopping him today. I would go with the under, whatever the over/under is. But that's just me.
I had to pick up the Colts defense in a 14-team league. So.
I willingly did so just because of Malik Willis. So.
Yeah, that was it. That was it was that or continue to start the Saints defense this week against the Cowboys, and I wasn't trying to do that. So
yeah, that's a good call.
Okay, cool. So next game we got the Jets Titans, right? Jets just worked. I don't think I've ever been that wrong on a defense in week 1 in my life.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
I think they bounced back because Levis probably isn't that much better than Malik Willis, and they're going to be hungry and pissed off. But holy crap, that that game was just ridiculous. But
it's crazy, especially since like CMC was like a last minute out. It's like, oh, okay, pounce on the Jets because Brock Purdy's good, but he definitely relies on the yak ability of CMC. Without CMC, it's like, oh goodness, like let's downgrade all the Niners. And this is going to be a low-scoring game. Yet the Jets' defense didn't show up, like you said. So, but yeah, I'm with you. I trust them this week. I think they get the job done. They bounce back, and Rodgers has a pretty good game as well. But yeah, I'm definitely going. I'm going to start the Jets' defense in one of my leagues with confidence because of Mr. Mayonnaise over there in Tennessee.
What about Alan Lazard, Anthony? Are you starting him? Is he a wide receiver 3 after 2 touchdowns?
Yeah, I think he's probably a low end wide receiver 3 with the upside of 2 touchdowns because of that Packers connection they've had from back in the day. That might have been the surprise performance of week 1, by the way. Was Alan Lazard getting in for 2 touchdowns. He should probably be picked up in leagues of 12 teams plus, and if you're looking for a flex option, he's definitely an option this week for sure.
Beware of the trap, though, because this gives me the Sammy Watkins vibes like years ago.
Oh, no.
When he broke out in week 1, he didn't do a single thing the rest of the year. He was like the most added player. Everyone was all over him. They traded for him because of the talent and because of the connection, and he didn't do a thing. So week 1 is tough. As we said, there's a lot of anomalies that we don't know yet. But I think Lazard's a good bet just because of that. Just because of their history, I would just beware of the trap of week 1.
Okay. And what about Tennessee? Who are we starting, right? Pollard looked great. I think he's must start because he can run on the Jets. but are we Ty Spears, right? Are we going to roll with him? Do you think the carries are split? Because Tennessee's going to run the ball, right? I think that's the only thing we know for sure, right?
I think.
Go ahead,
Go ahead,
Jacob.
Anthony.
No, go ahead.
Really quick, I think Pollard's the only guy that you can start with confidence. I don't really trust Spears right now, Pollard, and I don't really trust Hopkins right now. I'm not even sure if he's going to play or not, but even if he does, it didn't look great last week. Ridley, I guess you can start with minimal confidence, but I mean, I think the Jets defense shows up this week, so it's going to be tough for the Titans to do much of anything. So yeah, it's Tony Pollard, or see if you can find alternative options.
Yeah, I agree. I wanted to look up the splits between Pollard and Spears to make sure I wasn't misspeaking, but at this point, Tajay Spears looks like just a clear handcuff to Tony Pollard, at least if you're going to base it just off week one.
Right.
With 16 carries to 4, and then Pollard ended up with a couple receptions as well. So yeah, I'm going to hold on to Spears. I'm not going to start him this week. And it's tough to trust the receivers right now, especially going against the Jets defense. So I'm with Jacob that Pollard's the only one that you have real confidence in starting this week on that side of the ball.
Okay, perfect. Boom. Let's keep cooking. So then we got another potential overcorrection game, right? We got the Niners in Minnesota. I know we had Jason on Thursday, and he was telling us, beware. The Niners don't play well in Minnesota. I think last year Minnesota beat them. Purdy threw 2 picks, right? And I think Niners probably number 1 in the power poll for most teams, right? They look the best. Defense looked great, running the ball. Ayuk's only getting better. I feel like it's another trap game because it looks too obvious, right?
Go ahead, Anthony. Oh, you're on mute.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
No.
I do agree that this can certainly be a trap game. I remember I think it was the Monday night game last year where San Francisco played Minnesota, and everyone thought San Francisco was going to dominate, and Minnesota, came out and won that game. So I think it could be similar here. I'm still a little bit cautious about some of the pieces in Minnesota. Like, I don't love Sam Darnold in QB1 leagues if he was one of your considerations. Justin Jefferson should still be able to do his thing regardless, but it could be. I think if the Vikings win, it'll probably be a lower scoring game opposed to a shootout.
I'd be shocked if the Vikings win, but yeah, it just the Niners D, right? That just there's no running lanes, and then they're gonna blanket Jefferson, right? It's just there's no chance he's gonna be running free. So
right. I think I'm kind of like, I'm not on the other side of the coin, but I have a little bit more optimism in terms of fantasy for this game. I think that Jordan Mason does his thing, and that Kittle gets his 50, 60 yards. Ayuk finally gets a good game after playing limited snaps last week. I think they have to get him more involved with more snaps. So I do trust Ayuk as like a middle to low end wide receiver 2 this week. And then on the Vikings side of the ball, I think they do okay, even though that Niners defense is nasty. But since it's in Minnesota, I think they have a chance. Aaron Jones, he's kind of risky, but I do trust him as like a low end wide receiver or running back 2. And then Justin Jefferson's going to do his thing. But yeah, like Anthony said, like Darnold doesn't instill a lot of confidence probably in anyone. But I think Jefferson, even for Darnold's faults, he got 459-1, which is not great, but it's like Jefferson can overcome poor quarterback play. He does have that, when DeAndre Hopkins was in Houston, he made it work with Matt Schaub. He made it work with Case Keenum. And I think Jefferson can make it work with anyone. Just as long as you get it anywhere near him, he's going to grab it. So you can still trust him as a wide receiver 1. And I think I have him top 5 this week. In terms of wide receivers. So, I like that matchup. I think it's going to be a fun game. The Niners pull it off. I don't see the Vikings winning, but I think it's going to be like Vikings, 15-16, the Niners 24-27, decently low scoring game, but everyone should get it done in terms of fantasy, but I question Aaron Jones, but that's it.
So, quick aside, Jacob. So, when you're doing your rankings, how much do you like for the week? How much do you put in like the quality of like the top corner, right? Like last week, Ayuk against Sauce Gardner. This week, even Garrett Wilson. Right, Tennessee. They got the Kansas City Ladarius Sneed, right? Like,
Right.
so would you downgrade Wilson this week because if he's going to be 1-on-1 against Sneed?
Slightly, but I don't take into account too much because good wideouts with good quarterbacks will overcome. Now, if it's a bad quarterback with a good wideout, then I will take that into effect. I do look at the landscape of coaches to see, okay, does this coach, is he known for scheming his wideouts and getting them the ball despite a tough matchup on the other side of the ball? Like, there's only few corners that I respect enough to downgrade because of that, because of the matchup, and that's the Broncos with PS2. I downgraded Metcalf a lot. Like you just cannot throw on him. Sauce Gardner, like you said, Snead is tough. I don't put him in that upper echelon, but he's definitely in the tier below. So yeah, like Wilson, I think he does bounce back this week, but to the tune of like what Jefferson got last week,
Okay.
like maybe like 13 to 8, 13 to 15 fantasy points. So I do. Long story short, I do, but only for a few corners. So I just look at the whole picture instead of just one guy. I look to see if they can scheme that stud wideout, which most teams try to do. So yeah, I don't put too much weight on it.
Okay, so yeah, this week next game, right? We got the Pats Seattle. Christian Gonzalez looked great in week 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said you downgraded DK a little bit. Okay, Anthony, what about you?
For sure.
What
I
about
like
you?
Gonzalez.
Okay, yeah, of course. Anthony, what off the cuff? Who are your top 5 corners in the league?
Oof, off the cuff. In no specific order,
Yeah,
I guess. Sauce is up there. PS2 is up there. Patrick Surtain. Darius Sneed is certainly up there. Oh man. As far as the next two, throw out some names for me.
Marshawn Lattimore. We got Christian Gonzalez.
Yeah.
Marshawn Lattimore,
Yeah.
beast.
Yeah, those two guys I think are really good. We got Trayvon Diggs in Dallas as well. More of a big play guy. Jair Alexander, can't forget about him up there.
Okay,
we mentioned him a little bit earlier. I think he's definitely top 5 for me. Yeah, I think any combination of those guys is Denzel Ward too. Yeah, there's definitely some really good corners in the league. It's tough to put 5 specifically.
I will say anyone who faces the Browns, I automatically downgrade.
Okay, even on a road game. So let's do that game. Jags Browns. Jags are -3 in Jacksonville. And Cleveland kind of got the New York Jets treatment last week. They kind of got the game was over almost from the jump, right? So
right.
But so Amari Cooper, we're still starting, but I think Njoku's out. Who else we trust? Jerome Ford. Browns just look terrible.
Yeah, I think I trust all of the skill position players in this game since it's not in Cleveland. But I am tempering expectations on a Kirk bounce back. I still think he does bounce back in terms of just one catch for 30 yards. I think he gets into the 50s and 60s with a possible touchdown. Like there's upside there with Kirk. But Brian Thomas is breathing down Kirk's neck as a viable wide receiver 1 to 2. Like those guys are neck and neck for me right now. But I do trust Kirk a little bit more with his experience and his chemistry with Lawrence. I don't think you have to sit anyone because of the Browns defense today, but they are knocked down a little bit. Upside is capped. But since they're in Jacksonville, I give them the benefit of the doubt.
Okay. So, Anthony, how about rank me the Jags pass catchers for me for this week, right? We got Evan Ingram, Brian Thomas, Gabe Davis looked good, and Christian Kirk.
Evan Ingram is probably one for me. I like a bounce back week for him. Gabe Davis is probably 4. He's just always going to be there. He's just too volatile for me.
Yeah.
And again, in a tough matchup, he's tough to put anywhere else. Kirk and Thomas are a lot closer than I thought to start the season. I think I'm still going to give Kirk the edge just because of that experience and chemistry he has with Trevor Lawrence. He's been great there the past 2 years, finishing, I think, as a wide receiver 13 in 2022 when he was the one over there. So I'll lean Kirk 2, Thomas 3, and then again Gabe Davis as 4 as far as the pass catchers over there.
Okay. Yep. Sounds about right. But yeah, so that game's just also not going to be great. Like, are you trying to get out of the games like New England, Seattle for fantasy? Like,
yeah, largely. The only one that I have confidence in on Seattle's offense, if we're going to pivot there, is Charbonnet. I think you probably still got to start DK just kind of because where you drafted him, and he's probably still your best option. He's the type of guy where, he could take one play 6 yards of the house and it's, it's a fine day for fantasy at the very least. But yeah, the only one I have some real confidence in is Charbonnet. I think he should probably get the workload with Ken Walker. I didn't see if he was officially ruled out, but he was doubtful as far as Friday, and that usually means you're not playing. So,
yeah, that's true.
So our guy, I think it's another trap for our guy JSN over there, John. After what he showed last week, he only got 2 targets to his credit, and he caught them both for 19 yards. But like figuring that Patrick Surtain was on Metcalf and JSN was facing their cornerback 2 to 3 because Lockett had a decent game, you thought that he was going to tear up the Broncos. Not the case. And I largely blame Geno. And maybe the Broncos defense are a little bit underrated, but I think it was a Geno issue. And the Patriots, they always have a tough defense, especially in Foxborough. So, I don't have much hope for JSN, but maybe since I don't have hope, he's going to go off. Who knows? But I just don't think you can, like Anthony said, like Charbonnet, since he's getting those touches, fresh legs, he should be able to get, a good amount of yards and maybe find the end zone. So he does have upside. I think I have him as a low end RB2 this week, but he definitely has that upside since he's the only back, other than McIntosh, who's an undrafted rookie. Or
nice pull.
Yeah. So Charbonnet is the only one I can really trust on the Seahawks. And DK, because you draft him so high, like you said, Anthony, he has that upside of a long play, So yeah, that's it though. This is going to be a very low scoring game.
Yeah, I don't even trust Charbonnet. I think Pats were top 3 in rush yards allowed. Right, they're gonna stack the box and try to make Geno beat them.
Yeah,
Seattle O line is just it's brutal. Right, it's bottom 5. So I think there's gonna be a lot of tackles for loss. That game's ugly. JSN, I was literally just staring at him like, do I play him? My wide receiver 3. I was like, I don't really like Josh Palmer. I don't really like my options. So
he always has that upside. Jason has that upside. So it's like a what the heck flex. Like, all right, if I have nothing else, let's shoot for the stars, right?
Okay. All right, moving on, Jacob. We're gonna give you your flowers, right? Jaden Daniels. All right, we argued about it. You convinced me. I looked at your QB rankings. I said, "What are you doing?" You said, "Trust me." I did, and absolutely. Where did he finish? What did he finish last? QB3.
Yeah,
QB3. QB3.
With 2 rushing touchdowns.
88 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. Yeah, so you can't trust that every week, but that's his upside, and like you can't ignore that as long as he's healthy. Now the Commanders head coach Dan Quinn did say that we don't want our guy running that much, right. But when push comes to shove and you have to make a play, he's gonna run, because he's a rookie, he's still learning, he's going through his progressions, but he knows he has the rushing ability to run past defenders. He has NFL speed and then some. So, he's still going to rush. I mean, I think he rushed like 16 times or something like that, like something crazy. So I think it scales back, but he still has that floor of 40 to 50 rushing yards. And with that rushing touchdown, like he's going to be an every week QB1. He's my quarterback 4 this week.
Not backing down.
I'm not backing down. I love Jaden Daniels. So, what do you think, Anthony?
The Giants defense,
Oh yeah,
When you're going up against them, I'm thinking that until further notice, you got to target your players that are playing the Giants. I think Jaden Daniels is going to be great this week. Brian Robinson's going to be good this week. I'm not a huge Eckler fan, but I think he's a flex this week simply because the matchup, and I believe he caught a decent amount of passes last week.
Yeah.
I like the Commanders in this one. I think all around, really.
Yeah, and call me crazy, but I think Daniel Jones has a good game because the Commanders have the worst defense in the NFL. So even what we saw last week, I still have now a good game in terms of Daniel Jones. He's like my quarterback 20 or 21. So he is a low-end quarterback too. But he has upside because they have designed runs for Daniel Jones last week, even though he didn't do anything. I think it was like 6 rushes for 16 yards. But, I think that he does have a little bit of upside today and a little bit of a safe floor. So if you are in a super flex league and you need points, you need a guy, like I said, with a pulse, like Daniel Jones does have some upside against the NFL's worst defense.
Yeah, I highlighted in my preview that as bad as it looked week 1 for Daniel Jones, I don't disagree with you because of the matchup. In 7 games he's played against the Commanders, he's got over 1,500 pass yards, 10 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions, along with 320 something rushing yards. It looked bad last week, but if you're in a super flex and you punted your QB2 position, maybe.
Or if you had Tua or Jordan Love.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe Daniel Jones is an option.
Yeah.
The one thing I heard on a pod this week was the scramble rate in week 1 was like 7% or something. It's the highest it's ever been. So that could be a thing if you got the rushing QBs. They look like they're taking off early, right? Maybe the too high zone, the deep ball's not there. So I think I'm going to be betting every rushing QB's rush yards props this week, right? I'm going to bet as soon as it's over, I'm going to go bet Jaden Daniels.
I like it. Let's do it. And let's get some cash.
Yeah, Daniel Jones, not so much. Okay, there's a little back audio log there. Is that anyone else hearing that?
No, I think that might just be you.
Oh, okay. Hopefully it's not big deal. So we gave Jacob his flowers, so now I get mine. We got Chargers at Carolina.
Dobbins, right?
Yeah.
Our guy John was on the J.K. Dobbins train. I was trying to suppress that just because we don't know what he is after that injury. So, John, you were right after 100 and how much?
35,
like 38 yards or something? Goodness gracious. J.K. Dobbins is back, and I
2
trust
touchdowns.
him. Yeah. So, John, flowers to you, sir.
So where is he? What is he this week? Who are you starting him over? Charbonnet or J.K. Dobbins?
I have JK a few spots ahead of Charbonnet because I love that offense that he's in Los Angeles with a run-heavy approach. I think that Jim Harbaugh is just doing backflips, that he has this explosive running back that he wasn't sure what he had in him. And now he has J.K. Dobbins, and I think he's going to get more than 10 rushes. I think he'll get 12 to 15 this week and see what he can do with those touches. But I think I have J.K. in a dynasty league, and I didn't hesitate to put him in my flex position because I already have 2 good RBs. But I'm very excited about JK's outlook the rest of the year.
Yeah, the matchup has me going J.K. Dobbins over Charbonnet if those are my 2 options.
And what about Carolina? What are we thinking? Remember the Packers got blown out by the Saints in week 1, right? And Aaron Rodgers did the relax. So it's like, obviously the Panthers aren't going to probably win the division, but are we overcorrecting too much that the Panthers are really terrible again? Because I know a lot of sharps were on them in week 1. People had them in the division 11-1. Anthony, how bad are the Chargers? Would you take them bet to be the worst team in the league?
You mean the Panthers?
Panthers, sorry, yeah.
Yeah. To be the worst team in the league? Yes. Yes, I think I would. They looked. It honestly, it's either them or the Giants, if we're being honest. Yeah. The Panthers are a good bet to be the worst team in the league. I'm not starting anybody. I'm not starting anybody this week on the Panthers. I need to see it from them. They looked horrible. I know the Saints defense is probably better than the Chargers defense, but I need to see it from somebody over there before I can trust anyone from Carolina in my lineup.
I'm with you. The only one that you could potentially try to get some upside with is Chuba Hubbard, but even then, I'm not going anywhere near him. Like it's just like, yeah, until they prove otherwise, find different alternatives for Carolina, because that was such a mess last week.
Are you dropping Chuba Hubbard?
I dropped him immediately out of spite, but I picked him back up when nobody added him. So I was like, all right, I'll pick him back up. Goodness, like just to see if week 1 was just if we can throw that out in a better matchup, like John says, like this is an easier defense than the Saints. But I'm not expecting much, but it's like if he's floating on your waiver wire and you need an RB, you might as well just see if week 1 was just an anomaly.
Yeah, I think he should still be rostered in 12-team leagues. Yeah, he should still be rostered, but the leash might be short with the Panthers as a whole.
Yes.
Okay, let's try. We got the last 1 p.m. game. We got Raiders, Ravens. It feels like it's been an eternity since the Ravens played, so they should be fresh. I thought the Raiders looked pretty bad. I'm a big Minshew guy, but it just looked like he just was kind of lost out there. Ravens D should be good, but so what are we doing? We starting like we got 2 Raiders running backs, Zamir White, Madison. Are we starting them in a flex and deeper leagues? Right, we're obviously starting Devontae, Jacoby Myers. Jacob, take me away.
I still like Devontae Adams. He is a dog, and the Raiders are going to have to play catch up. So I think that he gets a good amount of targets. Jacoby Myers, I have semi confidence in. I label him as like a low end, probably like a wide receiver 4. And Devontae Adams is still a wide receiver 2 for me. Just because of it, it's going to be a very negative game script. And even though Gardner didn't look great, he can still throw the ball. He can still get the ball near Adams, and Adams has a very wide catch radius, very good route runner. So yeah, I still trust Adams as a wide receiver 2, Jacoby as a wide receiver 4. And then with the running backs, I don't have much confidence in them at all. I think that you can probably trust Madison because he's getting the passing. He's getting the passing work in a negative game script like we saw last week. But even then, I would love not to start either of them if I have other options. But White and Madison to me are just both low-end RB3s this week. So I've virtually no confidence in them.
Okay, fair enough. Anthony, Ravens. I mean, the O-line looked terrible, but really the only question people want to know is if I got Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews in the same league, who am I starting at tight end?
Isaiah Likely.
Wow.
Dang.
Isaiah Likely. I think you can start both, but if you have them on the same team, I can't imagine you want to start both. But I think across your league, I think both Andrews and Likely are startable tight ends. I think that it'll be a bit closer in terms of production than it was week 1. Or you'll have weeks where Isaiah Likely puts up 100 yards, and then Mark Andrews will go out next week and have 2 touchdowns, and so they'll be up and down a little bit. But if I have them both, I'm starting Isaiah Likely. I'm starting the younger guy with a little bit more juice.
Okay. And then what do we think in that game? Right, Ravens just gonna run roughshod, Derrick Henry time. I think he crushes the Raiders, especially as a favorite. Right, he's just choo-choo train.
Yeah, I think Henry has a good week this week. I think you start Zay Flowers, you start Lamar Jackson, the 2 tight ends, and that's probably it. Rashad Bateman everyone says that he gets open and he's like a great separator, but it just doesn't turn into anything. Okay.
And then let's go. We got the 4:00 game. So Jacob, Rams Zona. Is Zona the question? I got the wide receivers, right? That's what people want to know. Is it Demarcus Robinson? Was it Jordan Whittington? Tutu Atwell? And then I think there's one other guy I'm forgetting.
Tyler Johnson. Yeah.
Tyler Johnson, right?
Yeah. My goodness. I think I trust Demarcus Robinson the most, but that's not like a ringing endorsement. Just I'm just basing it off chemistry alone. I think that it's Robinson and Tyler Johnson are going to get the bulk of the targets, along with Colby Parkinson. But I mean, this could just be a run game where it's Kyron Williams' show. And I'm really hoping that Blake Corum gets his first carry, because that was kind of a bummer to watch. Like, I really wanted to see Corum get a carry, or just to be more involved or involved at all. But as far as the wideouts go, Robinson is my, is the one that I guess I trust the most, followed by Tyler Johnson. But they're very close, very close.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
I think I view them about the same. As far as Johnson and Robinson, they're the same as far as my opinion goes.
But are we starting them, or are we just going to roster them and hope one of them pops as a wide receiver too, kind of like how Puka did last year?
As always, it depends on your options, but I think you can start them because the Cardinals are a poor defense. So I think you can start them in a pinch, but I don't love it.
Okay. And then also Marvin Harrison Jr., right? Are we getting the bounce back? The tape didn't look good. The comments didn't look good. Kyler said it's not his job to feed him. There's no way he's a bust, but are we, failure to launch? Are we going to ease into this, or is it just going to be first play, 40-yard Marvin Harrison Jr., quiets the critics?
That would be nice, and I certainly hope so, but it might be a little slower going than we thought for Marvin Harrison Jr. to open up the year. Might just need to get his feet wet a little bit, build up some chemistry with Kyler Murray. He loved Trey McBride last week. I think he led the team in targets. Temper expectations, but Marvin Harrison should be all right.
Okay, Jacob, where do you got Marvin Harrison this week?
Yeah, I still have Marvin as a high-end wide receiver too. I believe in the talent. He's still good at football, ladies and gentlemen. Like, he is, he is no bust. It's just it was the first game of the season, and knocking off the rust. Marvin still looked good in his routes. So I think it's just a confidence thing with Kyler and Marvin. So I do think that Marvin bounces back and delivers wide receiver 2 numbers with upside for more.
Okay. Hey, we got a question. We got Brian. Thank you, Brian. We got Zay Flowers, Jerome Ford. That's pretty tough, I'd say. So I remember Brian had like 5 players for one flex spot. We were talking on the Thursday. This is what he's narrowed it down. I think Ford's going to get the carries. Don't have to worry about that. Flowers is the wide receiver 1, but the A-Dot kind of worried me. I worry about the O-line being able to hold up under, Max Crosby, bull rushing. So I'd go Jerome Ford and take the solid floor, right? Even though Zay Flowers might have the ceiling. Jacob?
Yeah, I'm going with Ford as well, just because there's a lot of mouths to feed in Baltimore, but at the same time, they're facing the Raiders. So I'm looking at this from a matchup perspective where the Ravens might not have to pass a lot. This is just going to be a running game after they get up early. But Zay Flowers definitely does have that upside, like you said, John. But Jerome Ford has that safer floor. He should run the ball like 15 to 20 times today in Jacksonville, especially since Watson does not look good. Like, I think they're going to rely on Ford a lot today to move the ball, which gives him some upside too. So, I am definitely going with Ford.
I'll triple down on that. Yeah, I'll triple down on it. You guys said plenty of it.
There we go. It's a sweep across the board. Jerome Ford.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Brian. Let's just keep moving. What do we got? Okay. We got Pittsburgh, Denver. Kind of an ugly game. I think Steelers are probably everyone's favorite defense after week 1, right? They look great. So Denver, are you benching everyone across the board this week?
I think you can.
Anthony, you start.
Oh yeah, sorry. I think you can still start Courtland Sutton. He did see 12 targets. It might not be pretty. I think you can start him. Other than that, I'm staying away from Denver players. This is going to be the over-under is 36.5, at least last time I checked on Friday, and I've got the under. So Courtland Sutton's probably the only guy in Denver I trust.
It is definitely going to be a low-scoring game. And Sutton, for sure, I agree, is probably the only one that you can trust even a little bit. But yeah, I'm benching every Bronco that I can. I don't trust any of the running backs, any of the wide receivers, because the Steelers do have good corners, especially Joey Porter Jr. I think he can do a great job on Sutton. So it's going to be tough. And the Broncos' third wideout or second wideout, Vele, he's out today. So I think we'll see a little bit of Marvin Mims taking some snaps, so we can see if he's any good, because we haven't heard anything out of camp from him. Anything like, is he progressing? Is he getting worse? Like, there's nothing. So yeah, I'm benching every Bronco I can, and I'm starting Justin Fields with confidence. I have him as a mid-round quarterback 2.
Wow.
Or a mid quarterback 2 this week. Yeah, I think he's going to run all over Denver.
I think there was a blurb out today too. Tomlin said Fields might be the starter. He might have just won the job.
That'd be awesome.
Nobody wants to deal with Russell Wilson.
That's our guy, John.
I took Fields in every mock draft I had. It was just crazy to me. So yeah, I love Fields. He's still my backup. Like, are you starting Matt Stafford or Justin Fields this week?
Ooh, that's pretty close.
What
do you think, Anthony?
Matt Stafford. Justin Fields is he's good for fantasy, but he's just the type of player that I just feel like
we're talking fantasy.
Yeah, no, true. I mean, you're right.
That's right.
He's just so tough to rank for me. I just feel like that's a decision you just need to reconcile with yourself if you want to start him or not. But in obviously there's a place for it as far as the value goes, but I would start Matt Stafford over Justin Fields this week.
I do think it's very, very close. Like, I think I have them back to back, but I have Fields a little bit higher just because Stafford doesn't have Puka, and Fields is just a cheat code with his legs. So I think I just trust Fields a little bit more just because of the Puka injury. That's the only how that Fields has the upper hand, but it's very close.
Okay, for sure. Otherwise, Steelers. I mean, Pickens. That's another matchup thing, right? Is Pickens going to get the Patrick Surtain, like the full curtain?
He is. So he's definitely downgraded for me.
Okay.
Scared. I think that Fields will still try to huck the ball up, but Fields isn't, like, as Anthony said, Fields isn't a very good passer. He's not a very good real life quarterback. So Fields can try to get Pickens, but I don't think Fields will mess with PS2 today. So Pickens might not get a ton of targets.
Okay. And then we got the last 4:00 game, right? We got Chiefs Bengals. I mean, this should be the almost game of the year, game of the week, right? But it just doesn't have the same hype, right? It just doesn't have the same feel, right? We got Hollywood now out for the regular season. Thank you. I think hard lesson now. Don't draft injured players.
Yeah.
Buy the dip is dead. Right.
Yeah.
But right, Joe Burrow, right? Can you pick up a water bottle?
Right.
What are we doing? What are we doing this week? Chase, obviously, we're starting. Burrow, we're still probably starting. But it's just it's ugly, right? Jacob, where are we with Cincy?
Even in a fantastic matchup, I just cannot trust Burrow this week. Unless you have to, that's fine, but like, he's still like a mid quarterback 2 for me. Like, I think he's around like quarterback like 15 or 16 for me, which is crazy because, like, as you said, this should be the game of the year. This should be hyped up. This should be like, get your popcorn ready, Burrow versus Mahomes, because it always is, but it just doesn't have that same allure. I'm still hoping that it does. And like Burrow's comments on the Gatorade, he was like, he tried to play dumb with it, saying like, oh, what are you talking about? I picked up a water bottle weird. Like, he's trying to play it off, but it was bad. Like he just did not look like himself. And we're hoping that he gets healthier each week. It could be this week. But with Higgins out still, and it's just the Chase show, and Kansas City has a very underrated defense since Mahomes doesn't make any money compared to the other quarterbacks. They can pay their defense well, and they bracketed every Ravens pass catcher last week, except for Likely because of that juice. But, I just don't trust the Bengals offense this week unless you have to, and only Chase, like, just because he has that upside, but that's it.
Okay. And then Anthony, is Rashee Rice to the moon? Like,
yeah, I think so. I think I wasn't a huge Rashee Rice guy, but I think I'm wrong, especially with the Hollywood Brown he's not going to play the entire regular season, which I think is a bit surprising.
Right.
Tough for folks like me that bought the dip on Hollywood, thinking he would come back and be the wide receiver 1 in Kansas City.
I know,
We
man.
all did.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but yeah, I mean, Rashee Rice is looking like a lock and loaded, borderline top 12 option for the foreseeable future.
Right? Like let's say some stupid league was drafting after week 1. Are you taking, or after the Thursday night game? Are you taking Rashee Rice over like Tyreek Hill with 2 out?
Yeah, I am,
Mm.
and that's tough, but I think I am. I think that I would do that. And I certainly expect Miami to sign somebody else. Like they're not going to rock Skylar Thompson
Right.
that long. But no, yeah, I think in a redraft today, I'm picking Rashee Rice over Tyreek Hill. It doesn't feel great though.
Well, especially since, Rice was going with his legal issues in the 6th to 7th round. Hill was like 101, 102, 103 pick. Like, it's insane how quickly fantasy can change, but you have to adapt with it. You can't just be like, no, I'm not going to make that trade because I drafted Tyreek in the 1st round and he got Rice in the 7th. I'm not going to make that trade. But it's like, you have to adapt. Rice has Mahomes, and Mahomes gave him 10 plus targets last week. Hill has Skylar Thompson. Maybe for the rest of the year if Tua can't clear concussion protocol, which I think Tua returns in like week 5 or something. Maybe.
Okay.
But I think I make that trade, John, or I draft Rice over him. I agree with Anthony here, which is crazy to say. What do you think, John?
I guess so. I mean,
It's tough. I mean,
Rice took. I had the Ravens secondaries elite too. I think he blew them up, right? And just the way they're going to use him, quick hits, slants over the middle. His yak is crazy. I mean, it's just I'm do whatever it takes in the world to take Rashee Rice, right? If you got,
yes.
Okay, we're gonna go. We got a couple minutes here, so let's just hit the night game, and then we're gonna be out. Right, Texans Bears. I think preseason people would have thought this game's gonna be awesome, right? Bears, Caleb Williams, triple threat. Texans look like the Texans, but all of a sudden, Caleb Williams, 93 passing yards, 2 wide receivers down.
Yeah.
This could be a defensive struggle, right? Anthony, what is this an under game? What are we doing? We love Nico Collins, right?
Yeah. No, my quick pick here was the under
Okay.
45.5. It was on Friday. Yeah, I mean, it's tough to trust the Bears offense with Caleb Williams. I'm not saying panic, like don't hear what I'm not saying. I think he's going to be fine and he's going to be great, but he only completed 50% of his passes in the preseason. I know it's a small sample size. He was 10 for 20, but that shows it's tough. It's tough to transition from college to the NFL, no matter how good you were as a prospect. And then the Bears have a surprisingly, I think, pretty good defense that I think that they can give the Texans some fits. But I still like DJ Moore. Or not DJ Moore, excuse me. Well, I do like DJ Moore on the other side of the ball. But I like Nico Collins still in this game. I think you can start all 3 of the wide receivers.
Yeah.
They're not all going to hit every week. So it's just kind of pick your poison. But I think that, I think it's an under game, but there's still some pieces that you can trust for sure.
Yeah, I have the Houston wideouts ranked, and I'm sure I'm not alone, but Nico, Tank, and Diggs. But I do think that they're all startable, especially in Houston. I think that Houston puts up points. The Bears do have a quietly good defense, and the Texans have a quietly good defense. So this could be a low scoring, well, not like a low scoring game, but I can see it going under, Anthony. But like, I still trust on the Bears side. I only trust DJ Moore. I don't trust anyone else. I have to start Swift in our 16 team league. Like, what is it? Like 16, right?
Yeah.
Like I have to trust Swift for that upside, but I'm not loving it. I really only like DJ Moore today. Now, hopefully Caleb Williams makes me eat my words. He progresses. That's what we hope. He improves from week 1. But right now I can't trust him fully. DJ Moore is the only one I can trust on the Chicago side.
Okay. We're gonna wrap up here, but we're gonna hit this last question. Ryan, thank you. Yeah, happy Sunday. All right. Pick one for flex, please. James Conner, Aaron Jones, Xavier Worthy, Isaiah Likely, Brian Thomas Jr. Well, you got a good team. Let's say, what's our top 2? Jacob, I'm gonna hit it with you while I think.
Top 2. Oh man, okay. So since it's a standard, I'm going safe here with Connor and Jones. And then I really liked what I saw from Connor last week with all those touches. So James Conner is the play for me. I think it's safe with some upside as well. There's more guys with upside here like Worthy and Likely and stuff like that. But I just think James Conner is safe in a standard league.
And matchup too, right? We like Connor going against the Rams rather than Jones going against the Niners, right?
100%.
Aaron? Oh, sorry, Anthony?
I think James Conner is the safe play. I also think he possesses some upside as the bell cow there. Last year they weren't afraid to feed him. This year it seems like they're not afraid to feed him. James Conner is the answer. I will say that if you are the guy that played against like James Cook, or you're just projected to lose, by a lot, and you need to shoot your shot, I think Xavier Worthy is the option there. But if you're just in a vacuum, all things considered, James Conner is the safe play.
That's great advice. You want to shoot the moon, Worthy, right? But yeah. I like that. Okay, we're gonna wrap up. So if anyone's listening didn't get any questions in, check us out on Discord. I'll be hopping on, answer any start sits, or you can hit us at Twitter. Because there's lots of injuries, there's lots of chaos. You don't want to be slipping. But otherwise, week 2, we got an hour and a half till game time. All right, Ryan. Oh, he benched Worthy last week. Okay. Any last parting thoughts as we get ready, Jacob?
Just want to say, if you went 0-1 or 0-2, if you're on the sleeper format, do not give up. Take it each week by week. All right. Because it's a long season. So don't give up hope, even if you lose this week, but we're going to win this week because we just are, because you're watching the SportsEthos show where we do our research over here and we know what's up. And so definitely tune in next week. What do you think, Anthony?
Yeah. I certainly agree. It's a long season. It's a battle of attrition. Don't give up if you started at 0-1. 0-2 if you play against the league median.
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest thing I want to note just real quick is we were talking a little bit about the draft, and we drafted Tyreek Hill in the top 3 and Rashee Rice in the 6th, 7th round, and making that swap after the draft. The moment the draft ends, I tell people draft capital means nothing. You have to be willing to pivot. Mm-hmm. Obviously, don't overreact to week 1 or even the first 2 weeks, but don't be afraid to pivot and don't be afraid to admit that you're wrong.
100.
Okay, wise words. Okay. All right. Well, thanks everybody. We'll see you next Thursday. We got a show, and then next Sunday. All right. Best of luck.
Good luck, everyone.